Hey, what's going on, everyone? I got another video. Um, I simply want to talk about how information is being used to deceive and manipulate the masses. Evolution is one of these theories and concepts that have many people questioning objective reality. Let me give you an example. First of all, I'll ask this: how does believing that one descended from a monkey actually help them in their real functional life? And the answer is it doesn't. If you really look objectively at what's going on in society, evolution is part of one of those ideologies that so-called science, pseudoscience, I would say, uses to diminish the value of life. Because if they can diminish you to an animal, now we know why abortion is such a hot topic. Because you're just an animal. You have no real value. You're just you're just stardust that comes from nothing. You have no real value. And so they can distort and manipulate things that we know are objective structure and order, like male and female, but because they want to tell you that all of a sudden things can rapidly change, even though we see no evidence of anything changing. We just see at best minor adaptations, but animals are animals, and the animals that have always been are animals that still are. And this is what can be tested, seen, and observed with a logical, rational mind. Like, let me go to this. These are some of the fossils, because I tell people all the time, come on now, this is a world of lies and deceptions. They can create any false deception to produce any narrative, to push any agenda. If anything should be clear, that point should be. Let's look at Piltdown Man. I'm going to try to make this quick. In 1912, a well-known doctor and amateur paleoanthropologist named Charles Dawson came out with the assertion that he had found a jawbone and cranial fragment in a pit in Piltdown, England. Even though the jawbone was more ape-like the teeth and skull were like a man's, the specimens were labeled the Piltdown Man. Alleged to be 500,000 years old, think about that. They were displayed as an absolute proof of human evolution in several museums for more than 40 years. Many scientific articles are written on Piltdown Man, many interpretations. Okay, and you can look down at this. I'm not going to read all of this. However, later analysis, now look at this, revealed it to be a fraud. It was determined that the teeth in the jawbone belonging to an orangutan had been worn down artificially, and that the primitive tools discovered with the fossils were simple imitations that had been sharpened with steel implements. In a detailed analysis completed by Joseph Weiner, this forgery was revealed to the public in 1953. However, y'all, it was not changed in your history books or your scientific books, because they have an agenda to distort your identity. I'll get to that later. The skull belonged to a 500-year-old man, and the jawbone belonged to a recently deceased ape. The teeth had been specially arranged in a particular way and added to the jaw, and the molar surfaces were filed in order to resemble those of a man. Now look at this, y'all. This was actually in a museum, and they built an entire theory that distorts our whole way and purpose in life on a lie. Nebraska Man, another famous one. In 1922, Henry Fairfield Osborne. Look these people up. They are real people. I've checked them from multiple sources. These are the true people, and the dates and everything aligns. The director of an American Museum of Natural History declared that he had found a molar tooth belonging to an early hominid in Nebraska near Snakebrook. Based on a single tooth, folks, a single tooth. This is how they're deceiving you with using these institutions that have these alleged experts that are funded by these elite that have an agenda to steal your identity, to control and manipulate you, right? Moreover, Nebraska Man was even pictured along with his wife and children. Oh, they're really trying to get you, huh? It's his whole family, right? That has to be real, right? But let's keep looking. The evidence of Nebraska Man was used by evolutionists in the famous Scopes evolution trial in Dayton, Tennessee in 1925. William Jennings Bryan was confronted with a battery of great scientific experts who stunned him with the facts of Nebraska Man. Mr. Bryan had no retort except to say that he thought the evidence was too scanty and to plead for more time. Naturally, the experts scoffed and made a mockery of him. You notice that that's what people do. They scoff and make a mockery of you when they have nothing to actually substantial to say, because the evidence will speak for itself. There's no need to call names and act like a child. After all, listen to this. Who was he to question the world's greatest scientific authorities? There's that word, authorities. People are indoctrinated to believe people that come from institutions that are funded by the elite. Now listen to this. Later, it was discovered that the tooth actually came from an extinct pig. The authorities, in quotations, who ridiculed Mr. Bryan for his supposed ignorance, created an entire race of humanity out of the tooth of a pig. Needless to say, little publicity was given to the discovered error. Now you can go through all of these. But see, this is all known fact. You can research this, but they know that people won't. You're going to go and just going to believe. This is another one, the Peking Man. In 1925, paleoanthropologist David Black found a tooth near Peking, Beijing, China. For several years, Black had searched remote locations in China and Thailand in an exclusive quest for human ancestors. They're looking for this, y'all. Because even though you can objectively use your critical mind to figure this out, but they're looking for something because they reject the creator. They reject that they're accountable for their life, and there is an objective, moral right and wrong. And we all know it because biblically, this is already proven and confirmed, the Bible that is, by what's already written inside of us. But we're not honest with ourselves. See, we can lie to ourselves. We can make up our own rules to distract from natural law. It happens every day. That's what people do to promote many agendas today: feminism, LGBT agendas, and all that. Okay. Now let's look at this. It says, although the tooth he finally found was indistinguishably from a human molar, Black knew erroneously, due to the supposed great ape of the strata in which it was found, and to the fact of evolution, that its owner couldn't have been fully human, but had to have been pre-human, and triumphantly proclaimed to the world that the tooth belonged to a new species. That Peking Man remains were later reclassified as being fully human. Again, look through this, y'all. You can find this information. Stop trusting information coming through institutions controlled by authoritative governing bodies that have an agenda to extort and manipulate and control you. It's that simple, y'all. Neanderthal man, another one. Same people, again, people have an issue with the Bible. Oh, a man wrote the Bible. Okay, if a man was writing something, if God wanted to, well, first of all, let's equate this. If I'm using a pen as a tool, who is writing, me or the pen? And if our Creator, using His creation made in His image, which is the greatest evidence of Him, is that we're made in His spiritual image by our mind, our conscience, our hearts, and not our emotional heart. That is a lie from paganism. I'm talking about the heart of the spirit, which is of the mind, the spirit, that is in sync with natural law and biblical law, by our conscience, by how we complain and expectations, simply by treating others as you want to be treated. That's to expose the hypocrisy that many people claim when they say there's no morality, but they complain about how they're being treated, or they're complaining about something that has been done. That's a moral claim, folks. And Lucy, they said this was fully innate. The fossil discovered in Africa in 1974 was widely esteemed by evolutionists and was the subject of some of the most extensive speculations. Recently, however, it's been revealed that Lucy australopithecus afarensis, an extinct ape, had an anatomy ideally suited to climbing trees. In fact, research was drawn in 2008 show from the many fractures she probably died from falling from a tall tree. Lucy was no different from other apes we are familiar with. The French scientific journal Science Et Vie covered the story in 1999 under the headline Adele Lucy, I don't know that. One study performed in 2000 discovered a locking system in Lucy's forearm, enabling it to walk using the knuckles in the same way modern day chimp. Look, come on, y'all. This is easy. Give me a challenge. All right, give me a challenge, folks. Stop believing because a museum what they can falsify. They can make fossils out of any kind of paper mache, and people are believing this is scientific fact. Stop playing with me, folks. Don't do it. It's gonna hurt you. And I mean, and the information is out here. People just don't want to. They don't want to know the truth because the truth holds us accountable, folks. It means that you can't just do whatever you want, which is a good thing because look at the evidence of life of man doing what he wants to do. Okay? It's destroying us because we don't want to believe that we were designed to live within the framework and structure of our creator, which is already proven if we're honest with how we're wired from the inside. I mean, look, y'all can see some of these articles and like the Big Bang Theory, the most illogical theory at all, that everything came from nothing for no reason and it's random, causeless, accidental. And all of scientific theories based on something that they just will simply say we don't know. But how much fact is based on we don't know? They built a foundation based on lies and this carbon radiometric dating, which I exposed. See, nobody, not even geologists, can directly measure the age of a rock. None of us watch Earth's rock layers form. And this is things we can isotopes bait. Look, y'all. And that's another lie. Keep in mind, if you go to this, these are toppling 10 fake facts that prop evolution, folks. Scientists are close to creating life from non-life. No, they're not. There's no evidence at all that they're close to that. As a matter of fact, they're telling you they don't even understand how life came from, how organic material came from inorganic material. So that's another flaw of the Big Bang. Science will simply say, we don't know. How did life come? We don't know. It makes sense that life comes from life. A life giver has to give life. A mind has to come from a perfect mind, and a creation has to come from a creator. This is logic that we can test in anything in existence. But we will ignore that and we'll just trust these experts who are funded by evil people that have an agenda to push all kinds of illogical behaviors on the world, right? And these are all myths. All myths. Okay, let me go to one more thing. This is so funny, y'all. People just don't even care. They don't even care. And I'm doing this from my phone, by the way, y'all. Let's look at this. Scientificdaily.com, okay? Inaccuracies in radiocarbon dating, folks. The source is Cornell University. Radiocarbon dating is a key tool archaeologists use to determine the age of plants, objects. You can read this, right? Radiocarbon dating is a key tool. Okay, we got that. Now, I've read this. Now, if you read this, these people have actually done a study to prove that it's all bogus. It says archaeologist Stuart Manning and colleagues have revealed variations in the radiocarbon cycle at certain times and periods affecting frequently cited standards used in archaeology and historical research relevant to the southern Levant region, which includes Israel, southern Jordan, and Egypt. These variants or offsets of up to 20 years in the collaboration of precise radiocarbon dating could be related to climate conditions. See, pre-modern radiocarbon chronologies rely on standardized northern and southern hemisphere collaboration curves to obtain calendar dates from organic material. These standards calibrations curves assume that at any given time radiocarbon levels are similar and stable everywhere across each hemisphere. The Cornell-led team questioned those assumptions. See, if you critically think, you will realize that none of this makes sense. We went looking to test the assumption behind the whole field of radiocarbon dating. Manning said, and keep in mind, this is coming from an institution of scientists, y'all. So all scientists are not bad. But there are a lot of the scientists that are funded by very evil people to push agendas that will never make their research public. They will create lies that they can't prove and all these things. Since we know from atmospheric measurements over the last 50 years that the radiocarbon levels vary throughout the year, and we also know that plants typically grow at different times in different parts of the northern hemisphere. So we wonder whether the radiocarbon levels relevant to dating organic material might also vary from different areas, and whether this might affect the archaeological dating. Okay, so you can read this. Basically, they exposed all of this as a lie, y'all. It's a lie. And this is not the only. You can do more research. This is SmithsonianMagazine.com, another scientific government thing. Thanks to fossil fuels, carbon dating is in jeopardy. One scientist may have an easy fix. They want you to believe that this is all structured fact, but it's not. It's theory, folks. It's theory. See, even with carbon radiometric dating, right? What they're doing, compare this to a candle, right? It's burning down at a certain rate. All right? Think about this. It's burning down at a certain rate. They can measure the rate of burn, but they still can't tell you exactly when it was lit. And this is all to push, because evolution and the Big Bang Theory go hand in hand, because they have to believe that the universe, or whatever they want to call it, is so old to create a lot for time for all their lives to have existed. Because if the universe is not as old as they say, well, that's going to debunk evolution. But the Big Bang Theory says they don't even know why or how anything happened. But yet they're going to tell you how long it is, and they can't tell you where it came from or why it happened. But the reason that they have to use this, because to create this narrative, there has to be billions and billions and billions of years, folks. Although we only have about 6,000 years of human history to prove anything. The rest is just subjective nonsense using pseudoscience that, well, is based on lies, and as you see now, is coming to light as lies. Just understand this, folks. I'm just trying to be the catalyst of free thought for people to question the status quo. I hate for it to happen during a so-called pandemic, that people have to start questioning medical science when clearly the healthcare industry has been killing people for years, because heart disease and cancer are the leading cause of death in the world, and have been for a long time, because of what? The pharmaceutical drugs, the poisoning in the food, the poisoning in the water, the poisoning in the air, our environment, the radiation. All of this is toxic. I'm just giving people what they won't do: research and evidence to counter the going narrative, so they can finally see a huge whole picture to critically think and make an informed decision. So I'm doing this quickly. I don't like my videos too long, folks. So I'm just going to leave it there. Do your own research. Don't let these people put you in these FEMA camps, or let the market be sneak up on you because you believed a lie. Your whole life. You believed a lie that diminished your identity, that made you think you were just an animal, so that the world can control you by your base instincts of your carnal instincts, which are really evils like greed and lust. We know greed without wisdom is terrible, because every heinous thing that happened in human history was based on greed. We know that lust without self-control is wrong, because we see STDs and children born out of broken families. So we see the objective results and evidence of living outside of the biblical structure of our Creator. This is something you can prove. And if you want to believe the Bible, just test it. Use it to your life. It will only make your life better. It has made life better. Okay? And for those who are naysayers and believe that the Bible supports slavery, no, it doesn't. It even says a scripture, and I'm going to do another video on this, but the Bible says that anyone selling another man or doing anything should be put to death. Having a servant or being in servitude to another is comparable to what we call employer relationship. Okay, having a boss or master is just a term, it's a euphemistic language. We watered it down over the years, that we want to make ourselves feel better, so we call it a boss instead of calling it a master. But the truth is that person controls whether you eat and whether you have a place to live. Just figure it out. And I can, like I said, I can prove everything I'm saying, and I can support it. more than what most of these sciences, all they have to do is try to clean up the lies that are being exposed every day. People are going to the doctor when the doctors are actually performing disease creation, because the doctrine that medical science uses comes from pharmaceutical companies that have a self-interest into making profit and creating fear and desperation to control people, folks. We see that now in what's happening in the world right now, locking down the whole world to reset the entire world so that they can qualify who enters and participates in society and who doesn't based on what ideology they choose to believe. This is so easy. Wake up, folks. Peace out.